So, we have an illustrious panel, as we always have actually during ADE. We have 2 DJs and 3 nerdies. So we're going to start off and get the nerdies to introduce themselves to us. Terry, who are you working for and what are you about?
I'm Terry Weerasinghe. I'm the head of marketing for Native Instruments Tractor, and yeah, I look after the DJ division there basically.
Do you get involved in the R&D side or?
I get involved in it, but it's not really my department. But the Native are quite an integrated workforce, and we also work closely with DJs, and they feedback information to us about our products, and that gets directly back to the R&D department, and that's how pretty much everything's made.
Next to you have Rick, who are from Pioneer.
Hello, my name's Rick Parkinson. I'm a product planner for Pioneer DJ. So it's my job to work with our artists and the guys that use our equipment to make sure that all of our features and functions that the DJs want, make sure they go into our products.
Okay. Next door we have somebody that actually used to work for Ableton and now works for Serato. I always want to call you, I don't know why, Jean-Claude Baptiste, I don't know why that's actually, it's Baptiste Grange. Okay. Yeah, explain what your role is now at Serato.
Okay, so my name is Baptiste Grange, and I used to work for Ableton. I started at Serato about a month ago and representing the company in Europe. So my job is to make sure the Serato brand makes progress in Europe.
Next door, we had a man that was at my ADE badge last year, using the sync button, but I think it crashed, right?
Yeah, hi, I'm Paul from Cyclotron. Yeah, last year in Nürnberg, Ableton crashed, first time ever, twice, might add. Yeah, learned a lot of lessons that night. We'll probably talk about that a bit later on.
You also work for the BBC, correct?
I did. I present a show called Across the Line on BBC Radio Ulster, which has been running for about 12 years now. And our break is basically to promote the electronic music from Irish artists around the world. So I do it every week on the Friday nights.
And last but not least, Gregor Tresher. Explain to us how you are and how you came into the world of DJing and what's with malarkey.
Hi, I'm Gregor Tresher. I'm from Germany. I've been a DJ for around 20 years, but only like 10 being a professional DJ, doing it for a living. And well, I'm still on CDs, so I'm still not using any software. So yeah.
And I'd like to apologise in advance. We couldn't actually get anyone from the DJ Top 100 to appear. I don't know why. Yes, this is actually quite a contentious issue for some people. How many of you guys out there are DJs? Lots. I'm going to try and get a man with a microphone to actually talk to you guys, because I think it'd be a lot more interesting to involve everyone, because I think there's going to be quite a lot of emotion, at least I hope so. The sync button. It's a strange thing. In the old days with DJs, used to mix records. Anyone remember those? Cool. Definitely no sync button now. In fact, when I first started, I used to actually use only one record deck and a 4-track with a very speed, which is very, very difficult, and I wondered why it wouldn't work. But now, there's the ability to, Swedish House Mafia style, raise your hands in the air and not push any buttons, and you can actually mix, beat mix, without having to use any very speed or skill. Maybe I've got that wrong, maybe there is a skill, and the sync button is something from the old days, and we're all holding on to it, so that's what I kind of want to get to the core of. Terry, Tractor is part of your thingy. Why is there a sync button there?
Stuff, Swedish House Mafia, they play on CDJs, they don't use Tractor. And I think that's a nice way of looking at it. It doesn't matter how you DJ, there's always been methods of cheating, and I guess playing a mixed CD or something that's pre-programmed is cheating. But with sync, to me, it's a technological update. It's not actually cheating. We've had many in our time. I mean, CDJs, for instance, get you looping and queuing. And with queue, for instance, you can just bring back the record and queue instantly, rather than having to, if you missed your in point when you're mixing, you can just hit a queue and you're straight back in again. With sync, it's kind of the same thing. If you press sync at the wrong time, you're not going to get the blend that goes in, nicely. You still have to bring the track in at the right time. So it's just a technological feature that helps you to mix, and also it's there if you want to use it. You don't have to use it. It's your own personal choice. If you've played in a different way before that, then don't use it. But you can't really. If somebody DJs and does a good set, plays good music, and mixes nice things together, I don't think you can really diss them for using the sync button.
I think it's a good analogy actually, because technology has replaced certain skills which maybe enables you to actually find new skills. Because in the old days with hip-hop DJs, before we had loop function on CDJs and also Serato and stuff, you'd have to go from one place to another, so I think that's quite a good analogy. Baptiste, you used to work for Ableton, now you work for Serato, so you kind of got a little bit of both there, right? Because you do need sync with Ableton, because a lot of people actually work with two copies of Ableton. What's your position right now on the sync button?
Good question. Well, actually, you tend to think Serato is a non-sync software. Serato has two main products, Scratch Live, which comes indeed more from the hip-hop environment, where sync is not necessarily a skill you would need for sets. But Serato also does itch, which is a product that comes with hardware controls, MIDI controllers. So we have a little bit the best of both worlds, basically. So I can't tell you I'm for or against. It's
diplomatic.
Well, I think the sync, in the case of itch, then I think it's a great way for people who who are beginners to DJing in general. I think it's a great way for them to have a pretty like an instant gratification, satisfaction. In that, okay, I'm interested in DJing. I have this track there, I have this other track. I'm going to need to use this sync button to achieve a musical experience that these songs actually lock in together and I can mix them. So I think it's a great way for people to get started and have this mix experience that is much harder to reach with CDs or binders.
Is Serato in a corner in the way that the fact it hasn't got a sync button with Serato Scratch? Is that now almost sort of subliminally become like almost a marketing point of view? Because obviously, I think Native's your main competitor with Tractor, and they do have a sync button. So by you saying, actually, we want to have a sync button, but if we do that, then we don't stand to be. Is it like a marketing thing now also, would you say?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Serato has always been very cautious, including the sync function, because it's been regarded as cheating by a lot of people, and not seen as a necessary feature for the crowd Serato has been traditionally talking to. So today, I mean, yeah, it's more of a marketing thing.
Rick, you are part of Pioneer. You're more hardware, although you do have software, things like Record Box, which I have to admit I've never used, but you're more in hardware. Isn't it going to be a natural progression that there's going to be sync buttons on CDJs anyway, because it's going to be musical files with USB sticks. Is that where you're going to be going?
As a manufacturer, we don't currently support sync, so none of our hardware has a physical button to enable sync your music. But I think going forward, technology is here to aid our performances and for us all to be better performers. And if a button like sync can make us do a better job and perform and be a DJ, then personally, I'm all for technology helping us. And if you have the ability to turn it off and on, then I think it's fine. A lot of people forget that we introduced a CMX 3000, a twin CD player, maybe 8-9 years ago, and this had auto mix. This was way before the whole sync thing even happened. So Pioneer as a company, we're not adverse to these technologies. We're kind of seen maybe sometimes as the baddie, and maybe we don't want sync to be on our products, but we're all for helping the DJ. And the CMX 3000, a twin CD player, is a classic example of how we're trying to aid DJs, auto mix, playlists.
You say helping the DJ, but let's also be honest here. By adding a sync button enables those that aren't quite DJs to become DJs and therefore increase your marketplace, right?
Sure, but maybe DJing isn't necessarily about mixing two tracks anymore. If you can mix two tracks and that feature does that for you, then it gives you possibilities to be more creative doing other things, adding effects, programming your set, visual production. So maybe that's kind of where the market's going.
Already I'm hearing loud excellent.
We're here to help the DJ.
I think we have some asthmatics in the audience. Paul, what's your position?
That's my personal opinion on Pioneer's views.
Oh, okay, it's almost like a BBC Twitter account. Paul, you have a BBC Twitter account. What's your personal opinion? That doesn't express the
DJs do
BBC.
not express what the BBC at all. I've tried them all. I went from vinyl to CD, then I went to Serato, then I went to Tractor, then I went back to Serato, and then all the while using Ableton for our live sets. So I've seen, you know, I've tried different programs out live. The one thing I found about the sync button, it was just like, once you hit that button, it's like, right, what do I do now? You know, and you're standing on stage and it's like, you know, I'm not even breaking a sweat here.
Especially the hard side.
You know, the difference with the likes of Ableton, because we use Ableton in a live, as a live performance too. I'll have 8 channels open and multiple effects, so my hands are always busy, so you know, there's a lot going on. But something where you're mixing a couple of tracks and it's just a sync, it's very, very boring.
Gregor, what's your position on all of this at the moment?
I'm kind of on the same page because I'm still playing track after track, and I'm not trying to add loops and layers and effects on tracks that are meant to be as the producers did them. Maybe that's because I'm a producer too, and I don't want people to mess up my tracks with 1,000 loops on top. So that's one of the reasons why I don't. Well, I'm not using sync yet. I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily, because mixing or syncing to records by pitching them is not a hard thing to learn. I think probably everybody can learn it within a few weeks. So maybe that's an art form that's going to be forgotten at some time, but I'm just not using it in a matter of because my performance would suffer from it, I think.
Talking about pitch, something that just came in really quietly, maybe about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the musical pitch. So you can actually vary the time pitch and the musical pitch, but you can actually keep the button to key lock. There was no uproar about that at all. In fact, I think it saved many people's ears. Are we just being too precious about the whole sync thing, Paul?
I think to an extent, yeah. I think horses for courses comes in here as well. I've nothing against sync. What I do like to hear, if somebody is using sync and they're using Tractor or whatever, you know, it's nice to hear somebody using 4 decks, using them to their full potential and doing something different. But for me, like for example, we were doing a gig earlier this year, and the guys who were on the course were using Hamill, and they were using it in the arrange page, so they had all their tracks lined out. I was just standing tweaking filters on EQs, and I was like, I've never seen anybody do that. Yeah, has anybody ever seen people use it?
Somebody told me that once.
Really, yeah. That was just mind-blowing to me. So what are you going to do for 2 hours? You're just going to turn the bass down and, you know, adjust your treble, you know, and, you know, there's...
So you feel you have to keep busy when you're on stage?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're taking people's money and you're not giving them a full...
Well, anybody can go up there and push a button, you know.
I've seen many anybody's pushing buttons.
And you know, coming from a background where you know started off with vinyl, I feel if I'm not busy and I'm not putting something into it, then.
But that's actually an interesting point, because you're coming from vinyl, and I'm coming from vinyl. You're probably coming from vinyl. Doesn't that give us some sort of heritage baggage that, you know, I mean, some of these people who still talk about vinyl in such high esteem hate the digital community. Absolutely, they are the pariah. And are we not just, you know, carrying our baggage and going, you know what, I had to learn it, you should learn it.
There's absolutely, it's totally like that, you know, it's like a bunch of old parts sitting around talking about vinyl, everybody should go, you know. But yeah, there is, you know, and things move on, and we have to sort of look at, well, there's kids getting into this at 15, 16 now, who can build a set and start DJing, and there's a much easier route to the market now. And like most of these kids, you know, if you give them a set of turntables, they wouldn't know what to do. And that's absolutely fine, you know.
But isn't that PlayStation DJ game, what is it, DJ Hero, isn't that kind of responsible for pushing the sync button?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I think things like that are great for the industry in general. You know, the more people will get into it, they'll find their own ways around it. And you know, some people who started off digitally and who've gone back actually to vinyl and started collecting vinyl, you know, because they get into it so much that they want to learn the actual craft behind putting 2 records together, you know. So.
Talking about vinyl, I heard a rumour, Rick, I don't know if it's true, did Pioneer buy out Technics in the end and then close them down?
No.
It's just an evil rumour.
Definitely a rumour.
Okay. Is that you personally or Mark Pioneer?
Sorry?
Is that your expression personally?
Definitely Pioneer's views.
Okay, that's good to know. I've had the first polite heckling. You guys were breathing rather hardly in disgust. So soon, 12 minutes into the debate, why were you guys breathing so heavily? What's disgusting you so far?
Hi, I'm Peter Gelderblom. I'm a DJ for more than 30 years. And some hits like Waiting For by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Syncing is fake. Simple. If you are a DJ, you are playing with your mind and your feeling. If you are syncing, I don't have a problem with syncing, but just say, hi, I am an artist and I'm syncing. Simple. A DJ is a DJ. A pilot is a pilot. It's a job. It's not just something you do. Simple.
I'm just very tempted. There's a general joke. What are you syncing about?
No, about syncing music. Taking tracks from other artists, and they just push on the play button, like you told, like I gave a story about the new Pioneer, the Nexus, which is coming. There's a sync button on it.
I can neither confirm or deny.
Do you work for the Conservative Party?
But obviously, the main problem for me is that there is a difference between artists and DJs.
That's definitely true, but the thing is, like, let's take it back to its natural sort of time heritage thing. So you started with vinyl 30 years ago. Average slab of vinyl would have been 15 minutes long maximum on one track. So you could actually see that you could see that the DJ was going from one track to another. As we've allegedly seen on YouTube, I can't confirm if it's definitely true, but there have been certain artists that actually just put a mix CD in. So it's already the technology is making fraud, and maybe I'm using too strong a word, much easier to disguise.
Yeah, but you still have the contact with the people. And when you are playing with CDs, also with the SD cards, I don't have her own SD cards or USB sticks. You have the contact with your public, the dancers. But I notice lots of sync DJs. They are busy with other things besides music. Just put
People pouring drinks with their friends.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's. But I think they'll be doing that anyway.
Yeah, but a real DJ doesn't do that.
That's true.
I think some DJ on high five all the time either, you know. You need some time for high fiving as well.
But I think even some of those DJs in those days probably had acetates of 2 or 3 mixes put together.
Yeah.
So there's always been fraud. Are there any vinyl DJs in the house?
I'm old.
Okay, can we go to the vinyl DJ at the back? Because I just would like to find out how you feel about this, because you've stayed with a format that is still in existence, and we hear that it's growing again, but that's after probably 8 years of falling down. What do you think of this whole debate as a vinyl DJ? Because obviously the sync button doesn't even come into your world.
Yeah, I never went digital, and what struck me about digital was I bought my decks in 1995, paid a lot of money for them, spent a lot of money on wine over the years. Paul?
Long time no see.
Yeah. I know this man, we had a drink in his flat many years ago. So I never went digital, and I was waiting to see how quickly it would bypass. Someone gave me a pair of CDJs and I was like, no, I'm interested.
You say you didn't trust it?
No, I didn't.
Was it you didn't trust yourself, or you didn't trust the technology?
I didn't see any effort in it. There's no skill in, I didn't see any skill in, there's a pleasure in mixing. It took me 6 months to learn how to mix by ear. And, some of you were saying there about the gratification, Rick. You're saying about the gratification of a kid. A kid can learn straight away. A kid can learn. I've done a DJ workshop with kids before where I've taught them vinyl and they. Sorry. I don't know. Just on that point, I think it's wrong what you said there about it being about increasing your market share, because that's not the culture I bought into.
The emotional connotations with being a DJ, the whole vinyl, mixing 2 tracks in time, they'll always have their place, but I've learned as a developer of hardware is, you know, we have to ensure that our products have the latest features and functions on, and maybe the kids now that are getting into DJ, they're bypassing the whole vinyl thing. They don't know about mixing two records together. And it's my job as a developer, I have to make sure that they get on board and they enjoy it. And if buttons and features and functions
why did they not know, Rick? Because when I did a workshop with kids of 15 and 16 2 years ago, and they didn't know about vinyl, they loved it when they seen the vinyl.
I should look at
so, like,
I think that's a moot point, because I do like vinyl, but I don't see the point of it for DJing now.
Well,
there's not many record shops left anymore.
Yeah, but why
so
online?
kids
I buy
vinyl.
records online, I buy them second-hand, I buy them vintage, you know.
Well, that's mostly because that's what's available, second-hand and vintage. It's not, so if you compare it to 10 years ago, the amount of music that's being released on vinyl that's new is less now than what it was then, and that's why, and this isn't going to be a vinyl debate, I'm sorry, but that's why there's less kids knowing about vinyl now, because even if they went down Grafton Street, yeah, there'd be a downstairs basement where there'd be lots and lots and lots of vinyl. That's not the case anymore. So you can't hold it against the people that are coming through now. When I first got into DJing, it was through cool DJ Herb. Yeah, he was like some mad hip hop guy in an open top car with a cowboy hat, with big speakers out the back. And I thought, I want to be him. Thankfully I didn't, but I wanted to be him, you know. But things change, and there's nothing wrong with change. And I think always going on about vinyl, I just don't think it's a valid point now.
Well, I think, like, I mean, I have my deck still, I have my vinyl still, I never went digital, and what strikes me is how quickly the technology changes, whereas with vinyl it was a skill that you were learning, and you took your time, and it's sustained an industry. I don't mean for bad, this industry now is like, you know, as you said, the record shops are closed, the record labels...
The industry's changed.
Yeah,
there is an industry, but it's changed.
But
we might not like it, but it's changed.
Yeah, but like, I mean, this was part of, in the past it was the way the industry worked, whatever, but everything moving so quickly with digital, I didn't buy into it, just to answer your question, and I'm happy that I'm still buying vinyl, and... You know.
Where's the other vinyl player? Who else plays vinyl? Can we go over to that? Why do you still play vinyl, and why are you actually here actually? Because obviously for you the sync button again doesn't exist, so why are you here?
Well, I'm here as a vinyl DJ, but I've adapted to all sorts of formats. The sync button, it makes it too easy.
And that's a problem for you, because I know some DJs probably love the fact that they're basically...
If you've done a mix on vinyl and you want to get it perfect, yeah, that's good, that sense. But to just get 2 tracks, mix them, then all of a sudden, it's run out of time, you're in trouble, press the sync button. That's not mixing.
But do you think that music's actually changed the way that it's made? Because obviously, back in the day with vinyl, there was the drum build-up, the breakdown, that's the place. So in a way, pushing the sync button has now been made whenever you want to do it, as opposed to in those days, if you're going to do the perfect mix, you know, if you go back to the old days like Kurt Abraham's traps and stuff like that, there'd be a breakdown, and that's where you had to mix, unless you were really, really good with actually key mixing. So do you just think it's actually just changed a little bit, but it's...
That's just the easy way of mixing. Pushing the sync button.
A lot of those DJs were doing the easy way of mixing though, right?
Well, you had to learn from, you know, either direct drives or belt drives, and it wasn't just about mixing, it was about knowing your music. With the record shop, same thing, you know, going out discovering tracks.
So you think the sync button is actually a way of not having to learn your music?
No, so the sync button is valid.
But there's another way you can look at it.
I'm not knocking technology, because I produce music as well, so it is valid to have it, but you cannot knock, because that is where mixing came from. You cannot ignore the history of mixing. That is where it came from. So,
Terry, what are your thoughts on this?
Pioneer.
If there's a tool there today,
Terry, what are your thoughts on this?
I think people should be allowed to mix exactly how they like to. I mean, I still go and see someone like Theo Parrish DJ, and it's brilliant. And
He's completely anti-technology,
he's
right?
anti-technology, and he plays on 2 turntables, and it's brilliant. But at the same time, I'll go and see somebody like Chris Liebing DJ, and I think that he's absolutely brilliant as well. You know, he's using the sync button, but I certainly couldn't do what he's doing. I don't know whether you could, but it's just a different style.
The way I see it, doesn't matter what I mix on, 2 CDs, decks, tape recorder, 4-track, whatever it is. I'll mix it because I feel it, because I know about mixing. Pressing the sync button just makes it too easy.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I've seen some guys, I'm not going to name names because I don't know if it'd be preferential treatment, but I've seen some techno guys and they're using Ableton, and I've seen some other guys use Ableton, and some of the other guys, bored, instantly bored, and then another guy's using Ableton and it's completely and absolutely blown me away the way they've done it, because it's not 2 decks anymore, it's layers, it's tonality, it's complex rhythms, it's complex delays, and
you're turning DJs more into programmers.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
That's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think the term DJ is becoming pretty much redundant for people who are using this technology now. You know, the term is disc jockey. People are turning up the laptops these days, and you know, I love. You mentioned Chris Leading there. Again, he's probably, you know, he's one of the guys who really pushes 4-deck control and machine and all this to its absolute limits. And when you hear that guy DJ and he's like, you know, playing tracks, a minute loop here, a minute loop there, that's the way, you know, if you've got the technology there, don't just mix one track after the other in the last few bars. Use the 4 decks, get it.
I think what we have
and it's kind of an artistic decision as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to be this guy like mixing a lot of things together, or do you want to be a DJ and mix track after track after track?
Are we at the end of the linear age? I think we're at the end of the linear age.
Well, probably.
And I think that's why some people find it difficult, because it's like A goes to B and you can't go via G. And I think that's the problem now, because if you have like so many different loops,
I mean, then producers don't need to do arrangements anymore, because
but that's the
point.
DJs are much closer now to producers. In the old days, I think producers used to become DJs because it was an easier way of making money and actually getting out there. Now there is such, you know, a closeness between the two. Wouldn't you say that's why you put Ableton actually in Serato with the bridge? I think it works now, right?
Well, that's exactly the point I was trying to make. That I think the type of performance is switching from AE to a more layering sounds and adding stuff and kind of live remix, which is actually enabled by the sync function. It doesn't need to be a sync button that helps you mix track B to track A. The idea is to use, this is just a technology where with a little bit of preparation, you know that all your elements are going to be matched and ready to be thrown in at any time. And indeed, at Ableton, I mean, when I was there, I saw tons of DJs who were just chopping up tracks, preparing them, they select various sections, the beat, the breakdown, some acapellas, whatever, and then they have this, instead of having a long library of tracks to be blended together, just like all sorts of elements that you can use on the fly. So the idea, I guess, behind the bridge is to kind of mix these two worlds, where you can decide to be still a DJ that likes full tracks and are going to move from one to the other, and at some point just try to go more freestyle around it and drop in some sounds that will be in sync. And so the sync technology is just something that enables you to reach another level of performances, not to mention then all the effects.
Are we going towards you guys actually not even being necessary at some point? Because the iPad is really gobbling up absolutely everything. So manufacturing, you're making real world tools. Say in 3 years' time, would you say that your product line is going to be vastly reduced with real world tools because of technology coming up with like a GUI which will go on to an iPad with no problems? Do you think you're actually going to be around making so much product?
It's very interesting being developers. You know, we sit in meetings and we discuss future products and hardware, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you'll see everything we're trying to recreate in hardware in this virtual environment on an iPad. So I think as it stands at the minute, sure, there's a lot of technology going down there. Terry just released iMachine on the iPad that knows it very, very well. So I think we can learn from that going forward. There's a lot of DJ apps and tools now that are out there helping people. So
when you say helping, something seems to cause upset with some people out here. They're helping people. What do you mean? What sort of apps and what are they helping them with?
Well, Terry just released iMachine, which is a broke down version of machine crates.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with the app thing, I'm not so sure that that's really going to be the future, because I think on a pro level, people want something that's dedicated and
Tactile, maybe?
and a bit more tactile. Yeah, I mean, the touchscreen interface compared to actually turning a physical knob, I don't think that will ever take over. But there's no doubt that you can, DJing is about performing, and something like a Chaos Pad type controller where you're doing effects using an iPad, that can really add to your performance. Obviously, it's something the crowd can interact with, they can see what you're doing, and they can hear and see rather than,
So we go back to the DJing being a performance. How many of you guys out there actually DJ with CDJs? Okay, I want to go to these two guys down there. Because I know they used to use vinyl right back in the day, and they used CDJ. Do you feel, well, when you first did the transition from vinyl to CD, did you feel that your performance was still a performance, or it was less of a performance in the beginning when you actually did switch over?
Actually, when we started switching for CDs, it just came as a necessity because many tracks were out as digital instead of coming out on vinyls. But then after a while, we switched to whole two CD players. Actually, we put together on 6 DJs nowadays, and we don't feel that there's a difference about the performance because we still need to struggle for pitching, and I think this is something that maybe the crowd doesn't feel mentally, but they feel with their bodies. And if you are professional enough to get to the point of controlling that small, slightly pitching out, coming in and out, then it gives a lot of flow and shuffle or the swing that people will feel and get interacting more to the music.
To err is to be human.
Yeah.
And you think that gives it a character, that gives it a performance. The error, constantly battling against the errors is what gives it the performance. So, put it into a tennis analogy, if you had two people pushing the sync buttons on the other side, you'd have an endless volley going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And eventually the error is why people are watching, because they want to see the error, and maybe that's why. Maybe people want people to be up there and be human.
Maybe what we need is an error button, and we can press it.
We're working on that one.
What are you going to call it? Who's going to sponsor that one?
We don't have anyone sponsor it just yet, probably the British government, but...
That's like an artist, you should have an artist error button named after someone. It'd be kind of cool, like Trainwreck A and Trainwreck B. But did you find that your performance was a little bit mooted when you first did the switch over? Did you feel that it doesn't feel the same, and maybe you actually had 4 or 5 tracks on each CD, so you didn't have to change the CD so often? Did that change your vibe?
Not really. Not really.
And will you guys ever go into a computer?
No. Well, we tried that too, but I didn't like it very much. I mean, the software is very good, but I don't like the way you have to go on top of the other DJs to connect, and every time when we are playing, someone comes and I have to stop to connect, and the computer is not working, and then I have to play more. I don't like this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that issue with computers. It's a pain in the arse to change them, and I think what we all want eventually is just like a nice Thunderbolt firewire connection at the back of the mixer, that they can just do it that way, but that's not going to happen for a while, I think.
Maybe with the binary.
We actually do that.
Yeah.
Does it work with Serato?
No, not at the minute. Yeah, we work with Native to ensure the whole audio tape card in and out of the DJ booth, and what we call it's a pain. Everybody hates it. But yeah, we released the DJ 900 that's tractor certified, which basically means the DJ can rock it with 1 USB.
But why is it only tractor certified? Why did you go through that decision? Because obviously tractor has a big fan base, no doubt, but it's regionalised, big in
That's something that we and Serato need to discuss. But currently as it stands at the minute, Native is open source, so you can use any sound card with Tractor. But unfortunately, Serato, you can only use their sound card to enable the software.
Baptiste, why is that? Why did they not have Serato embedded within a Pioneer mixer? It would make my life a lot easier.
It's something, Serato has had an exclusive relationship with Rain for many years. We've done all the mixes and the boxes, so we're also talking with these guys at the moment.
Okay, Rain's quite big in America though, right?
No, but just to address this issue, I mean, the latest products like the Rain 68 mixers has 2 USB ports, so you can actually just, swap computers, just plug in your computer, and you set
Does that work with
to
Tractor as well?
any other cable.
Does that Rain mixer work with Tractor as well?
Does it work with Tractor?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And that's the problem. I think it'd be a lot better.
It's a first step, I mean, on the long run, you can imagine.
Yeah, we're all kind of working to do our own thing, but we are trying to work with each other at the same time, like make a solution for DJ to make it easier. So we are aware of these issues, we are trying to address it.
Who else DJs with CDs? Can we go back? There's a microphone there. Ah. What's your whole vibe on this? Would you think about stepping to a computer and getting a sync button and all that sort of malarkey, or are you happy with CDs?
Well, I've been DJing for 20 years, so it goes back to vinyl and it goes to CDs. And right now, my weapons of choice happen to be laptops with CDs. There's Tractor and there's Serato out there right now, but I actually use a different control right in audio called the Exponent, which makes things a lot easier to like blur the lines between all the CDs, the sync buttons, and things like that. You don't necessarily need to use the sync button with this controller, because they have 2 big jog wheels on there that kind of operate like CDJs once you adjust the settings. And to hook it up to your mixer, you just need an input in. So you don't have to disconnect any turntables, you don't have to disconnect any CD decks. As long as you have the sound in, you just plug in. And because of the software, it just makes things a lot easier, because you got this 2 decks for version 1 and 4 decks for version 2. And then that
Can you manage 4 decks without a sync button?
Personally, me, I can't go past 3. I don't see myself ever needing a 4th.
Can anyone here handle 4, 6, 25 decks without a sync button? Is there a turntable specialist here that can actually do this?
I mean, if it got to the point where you had to try to mix 4, I'm sure with like enough drinks, you could probably do 4. That's what DJ.
Not cheating, I'm not sort of having an amplifier that you know is the BPM of what you're dropping it into and you don't have to touch it. Just 4 completely different tracks. And wouldn't you, at one point, maybe think, you know what, I'd like to have 4 different complete tracks. I'd like to have the ability to mix them, but I just can't because I'm human.
That's probably what I'm running into, because like for me, I probably use 2 decks to just play tracks, 1 to loop, and maybe 1 for acapellas. And I just like having the options to be able to do all those different things. But when it comes to the sync button, I think a lot of people are just, mainly it's just like the electronic house DJs who are really, really upset about it. Because hip hop DJs, they have turntables on. And because of that, they never really need sync buttons, because they always have
you seen controllerism? Controllerism, like, what do they call those guys that just like push buttons, never touch decks, but it's mind-blowing to watch. It's a whole new thing where they don't have the heritage of the past of having to go down and meet Moody Record Assistants, buy records, film records, something that no one else has. They get all their stuff digitally, and what they do with it, just with controllers, is the next level. I can imagine that there's probably a 9-year-old young Dave Clark somewhere watching some controllerist on TV, thinking that's who I want to become, and not have any of that. And I think there's too much. I mean, I don't fancy the sync button, don't get me wrong, I'm sort of sitting on the line here, but I think there's too much weight held with heritage. Are there any DJs out here that have never ever touched vinyl professionally? That's interesting. So everyone here that's part of this debate has actually touched vinyl, yeah? So it's a generational thing, I think. What would you say, Terry?
I think there is a definite change that we've seen actually, where there's a blurring of the line between DJ and production these days as well. I mean, 10 years ago you could just be a DJ and become a big international star. Now, more and more when we see people that are becoming big international DJs, they're DJs and producers. And because of that, they've got a slightly different attitude, I think, and that's what the kids are growing up with now. You know, a company like Beatport who's selling tracks to people, one of their most successful methods of marketing is doing remix competitions. And that wouldn't have been the case, I think, in a record shop if you just said to every DJ coming into Black Market, do you want to do a remix? most of them wouldn't have been up for it, but the Beatport, they get millions of these people sending in remixes of stems of Depeche Mode tracks. It's a different market, things have evolved, and the kids don't have the same mentality that we did when we went out and bought our decks.
Gregor, you've been producing music for quite a long time, right? So you've seen the change of technology, where people were really expecting 2 megabyte expansion kits for your samples, like, you know, you might consider making a trance record back in the day to make that sort of stuff. So you've seen how technology has changed over the years. You're, I would say, techno, which of course is technology. Would you not feel that it is a natural progression just to bring that technology into the club?
Of course, yeah. I think I'm not against the sync thing. It's if people know how to use it well, I'm up for it. But the problem is I didn't see many performances that I actually liked when people played with the sync button. That's the main problem. So
do you think many people do actually look at performances these days? I mean, some of the clubs that I play.
No, it's not looking, but also like the music. I just don't see the benefit of layering 10 tracks over each other. Where's the point? Because
so you think it's more worthwhile to actually have 2 or 3 tracks saying something strong?
It depends on the music you're playing. If you're, I don't know, maybe it fits to some styles of music. It's just too basic techno. I think it's not a benefit because I mean, how could you layer 10 tracks? I mean, what are you going to hear in the end?
Paul, what about that? Are you up for layering 10 tracks?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. I go between love and that side of using Ableton where you can have 8 channels open on an APC40. I'll be taking clips from each one of them.
Great. No, but speaking of DJing, like whole tracks, not it's
but
again.
It's a blurred distinction.
That's a different thing.
But it's a blurred distinction, isn't it?
Is it? I mean, if you're playing live, you're supposed to play your own music, and then of course you sync.
Yeah, playing live is different.
I hate that people say I'm playing live and people play people's tracks. That's not playing live.
No, absolutely not.
But then there are some DJs that only play their own tracks as a DJ.
Well, that's a mixture of being a DJ and playing live, of course.
But
they can sing. They can sing with their own tracks. No problem. See? Oh, sing as an artist.
because I mean, like, surely those DJs that only play their own music, then isn't it an advantage to be able to then know the distinction between being a DJ and a producer?
Of course, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
But, so just the fact that you can, with Ableton or other software, that you can have layer sounds. I mean, you have to. And I was thinking more of the way to say, okay, now I build myself a huge collection of sounds that I can add to my mix. Doesn't mean I'm going to play 5 of them at the same time. Just I can maybe change more often, or play songs or elements for a quicker time.
So you're making the sets are unique more often.
Yeah, exactly, and just have maybe mix more. Have a more dynamic mix, and that I add more elements and it changes more quickly. And I think that's to get back to the discussion with the kids and how they react. It's people have more music available, like more than they can actually play, and there's this culture of just remixing everything, like genres and not only music, in all forms of arts. And the last thing is I think the attention span is reduced. Like people, I don't know you, but like when you listen to music, then it's just like skip through songs and okay, next one. And all this combines to bring this kind of new performances or different.
Anyone in the crowd think that technology, the way it's going, is actually a bad direction? So everyone feels that technology is actually going ahead and you want to be part of it, it's a good thing, right? Yeah? Who says that? So you all want to go back to vinyl?
No, you can't go back to vinyl because it's the format. We have to adapt to the formats. They're changing. No one's making vinyl anymore. We've got to move on to CDs. But it depends on who you are, what you are. Are you a DJ? Are you a producer? Are you one of these?
But that's completely blurred now for most people, right?
Well, it is. I mean, I produce. I produce. I DJ. But when I'm out there, it depends on what kind of show you want to.
I mean, you have to admit, say for example, like the veritable DJM 800, yeah, with all its stuff in there, is probably DSP more powerful than any of the music that you used to make the equipment you used to use 20 years ago. So all that technology is so readily available for us now that we are changing that.
Yeah, but you'll find even with technology changing, if you're into sounds, you'll always find that there's always a patch for the analog. You can't forget it, can you? You can never forget it. You've got to know the history.
Is Is anyone finding technology is giving us way too many options and confusing the hell out of us? Can we go over to this gentleman over here? Why is technology just giving us too many options in your opinion?
Yeah, of course, it's giving too many options. When you see what you can do on an iPad, it's just mind-blowing. You need so much time. It's actually so many instruments invented in one time. I think. I mean, I'm talking for the iPad, but all the applications are mind-blowing as well. But what I want to come back to what you were saying, but we are going away from the DJing. It's more than the analog thing make you want to fiddle and play with music, rather with the computer thing. You just with your mouse with the screen.
I don't see anyone with a mouse on stage anymore, actually.
No, not. But I'm talking about making music. The fact that you use synthesizers and things like that make you want to play making music. You know what I mean?
I'm going to be honest. Like, I've managed to get away with a career of music for pretty long. But if someone said, right, tonight's a Dave Clark Unplugged concert, I'll be shitting myself because I can't play a musical instrument, and because of computers. So, you know, if we were holding this debate maybe 10 years ago, can people that can't play music, should they be allowed to play music? And that's, you know, it's kind of weird how we all move the goalposts all the time. So, I think the whole thing about synthesizers, I can tell by the way that you look, I think you're very into synthesizers and you can probably play them really well. But I could never ever play any music, and because of computers, it gave me a career, and I think maybe we're being too precious about the sync button, I think. Anyone else, you have an opinion about technology offering us too much choice, right?
I just want to bring things back a little bit. Everybody in this room has a particular view of this because they're involved in music, but ultimately it's about all the clubbers out there on the floor. That's the whole reason you exist.
Absolutely.
95% of them don't care and don't know how you're doing what you're doing.
This is so despondent, because like yesterday everyone was saying that everyone was off their heads and no one gave a damn, and now you're saying they don't care.
Well, they don't. What they care about is what you've sequenced, what tracks you've selected, and that really is the important skill of DJing.
And so the sync button, it's no longer for you?
Absolutely not, no. Because most people out there really, they don't care how you're doing it. They genuinely don't. It's only the 5% that are probably the people in this room that watch other DJs to see what they're doing. You know, I've seen some DJs' performances where I thought, for me, that was really boring. They literally were just pressing buttons. I didn't like it. But then you go and talk to some of the other people in the club and they go, what a great set, that was fantastic. They just don't care how you
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Okay. What was...
I work for a music technology company, making DJ gear and production tools. But on kind of on the sync button and being a DJ, there are so many different ways to be a skilled DJ, and there are so many different ways to be a rubbish DJ. And whether you've got a sync button or not, you can still mix two tracks perfectly in time when they go sound rubbish, and you can still select two perfect tracks and press the sync button. So it's about the music you play, not necessarily about how you play it.
Does anyone disagree with that it doesn't... You disagree with that? I'm ready to get the microphone out to work for his lunch today.
Yeah, the sync button just basically means the end of skilled DJing, like turntablism and stuff like this. You can't do beat juggling or any of this, or you probably could do beat juggling, but you can't do any kind of scratching of any kind, just using a sequence program, you know, something like that is like that's the craft of DJing. And with all these tricks and stuff like this, you get the...
Wasn't that the craft of DJing then? I mean, like beat juggling, I used to love having two copies of stuff.
Dave, the craft of writing a letter is knowing how to spell, but we all use spell checker in Microsoft Word, so...
I don't use Microsoft Word.
Pages.
But I mean, with beat juggling, I used to love that and it was fun, but then Pioneer came up with a mixer with a delay. I did it. And then I could concentrate on something else, and it enables you to think about something else. What else can you add? Because you don't have to get two copies of vinyl anymore to go backwards and forwards. To watch, maybe it's a little bit more boring to see that. But things change, don't you think?
Yeah, that's true. There's always the romanticism of the original form in the first place.
And that's what brings it down to. This is a romantic argument, isn't it? Really, it's like, it's just not right. It's just not right. There's no love. And that's what it comes down to. And I think, although I personally don't want a sync button, I think it's maybe an argument that's too romantic. And if you look at it in 5 years' time, are any of us going to be standing here going, I was right, we should never...
I'll be going by then, something else to argue about 5 years' time, sync buttons now.
What's the future going to hold for us, Terry?
I wish I knew the answer to that, Dave. I'm still pretty unsure about what the future is. But thinking is definitely here to stay. I mean, the reality of the situation is it's an immensely popular feature. It's already been alluded to that Pioneer are going to be syncing as well, and Serrano have a sync product which they've developed very nicely in the last year as well. So,
is that true, Baptiste?
It is true.
What is this syncing project?
But I think you're alluding to itch and intro and some of the control-based.
Itch is the entry-level one, right?
Itch is the version of the software that ships with MIDI controllers.
It's actually the most powerful software Serrano do.
It depends what you want to do. If you want to play definitely.
This is fantastic. I've never seen native talk up Serrano project. This is great. Rick, what's the future hold that you can tell us about?
I think talking about hardware, I just noticed Ollie, Innovation released a product recently called a Twitch, which is just a small controller, but it was the first product on the market that kind of got rid of your traditional turntables, the wheels. You don't need the jog wheel anymore. So maybe in a few years' time we need a crossfader or channel faders, who knows, but it's very interesting to be developed and see how fast the market is changing. And Innovation doing that was maybe a sign of the times.
Are you going to integrate, say, like an iPad stand at the back of your mixers?
Yeah, maybe. Possibly in the future, it could be an option.
Oh, sorry to grab you while you're thinking. What would you like to see from these fine gentlemen on your right in the future on your technical DJ rider? The sync button's already there, you've got it whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say really. I mean, I don't think we'll ever have a product again like the Technics SL1200 that was like here for 30 years. I think things are changing so fast. We've been through 3, we're in CDJ 2000s now, so in a very short space of time. So in the next 10 years, who knows what we're going to be using. It's very exciting stuff, but it's difficult for people to get a grasp of what's out there and what's going to be best. For the amount of people that ask me on a regular basis, should I use Tractor or should I use Serato? And there's only going to be, those kind of decisions are going to become even greater as more and more products come into the market.
Gregor, what's your future Nirvana?
As you said before, if they integrated a Thunderbolt thing in the mixer, then I think that will be the point when many DJs that play CDs switch to laptop based.
So you think the connectivity is what's
Yeah, I mean that's what everybody hates about the whole thing, but that's what I hate. I just don't want to come to the booth and having to pull.
Do you not think the USB stick or its placement is going to actually replace the whole computer anyway? Because I think that's what Pioneer are betting on. Is a bigger screen so you can actually then file manage and you just turn up. If you're a trance DJ, for example, with your Swarovski crystal USB stick, which is being held in velvet, and you just drop it in. Is that not where it's going to go?
Yeah, maybe. I'm just not using it yet because I feel weird coming into the stage with the USB stick. But that's of course, that's a good thing. And yeah.
I've got a question about about the industry standard thing. So 1200 till 1210s were the incumbent thing that everybody used for years, and then arguably the CDJs kind of took the mantle. Are any of you guys looking to develop that next industry standard in
I think with every product we're all trying to do that. It's whether or not the market accepts it.
I think we're not actually. I actually think that I agree with Dave. I think that those days are over.
Not the S4?
No, I really don't, because I think actually DJ is changing in that things are becoming more modular. People want to DJ in different ways. So you are getting kids who want to DJ using an iPad and they've just got it set in their head to do that. And we're just seeing all these little small controllers like called nano pads pop up and
nano pads are incredible.
Yeah, there's lots of fun little toys which people are plugging in and they're using to be creative, and they're realising they're not stuck in the constraints, and this is what DJs
does this spell the end of a kind of professional industry standard of working? Do you think that it's going to become so pluralistic that people alternate. You can have 5 DJs that alternate with completely different rigs.
Yeah, well, we see that already. I mean, but that's what we're talking about with the changing in and changing out of, you know, like an Ableton live setup. I've never seen someone with the same setup. People bring in different synths and.
Are we going to see decks disappear as a result of this?
We already have.
Well, I mean CDJs as well, the whole having
eventually
2 things in a mixer.
I think the means and the mediums that we're using, Twitch, Serato, S4, CDJs, everyone's always going to need a center point to plug into. So whether that be a mixer or...
That's just going to be electricity. Really, that's going to be the only standard until you actually then have Tesla cores or something.
Do it telepathically from home.
I don't have to travel anymore, that sounds great. I think there will be a centre point of that, so I think decks have got a very limited amount of time left. I can't see decks being there in 5 years' time, to be honest. Paul, would you?
Yeah, I mean, even over the last year or two, I've turned out to lots of clubs, and it's just a mixer. That's it, no decks. You know, it's a weird thing to see in a club. But again, going back to the sort of industry standard thing, you know, even in terms of the mixer, you know, that if there's something there that everybody could just turn up and use, you know, whether you guys are working together to do this, I think that's where the next sort of long generation product will come in, will be the industry standard mixer that tractor guys, Serato guys, you know, can all just walk in and you know that it's going to work. You don't have to worry about it, and I think that's as opposed to
look at the plates.
Absolutely, yeah. But decks, yeah, decks are.
I mean, for me, I miss decks, but I'm so grateful for technology because it's enabled us to think in a different way. And if you'd asked me about the sync button 2 years ago, I'd go, fuck you all. And now I'm thinking, well, it's not for me, but I'm not actually against it either. And I think that's the approach you have to have. I think you have to be open to technology because technology now can adapt to you as a performance, whereas in the old days, you can do a few tricks, you can put a gaffer tape on your Technics and turn the needle upside down and stuff like that, but it was very hard to adapt, and now technology is as big as your imagination, and I think hanging on certain contentious issues, I don't even think this is a contentious issue at all, actually. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming along, and I'd like to thank besides the guys as well. I'd like to thank everyone for coming along, and yeah, I hope we help explain a few things. Thank you.